A few thoughts now on what I believe is an absolute disgrace. The refusal on the part of Apple's CEO Tim Cook to work with the FBI to reveal the contents of an iPhone used by at least one of the San Bernardino terrorists. There are, say some, important legal issues presented by Apple's refusal to assist the federal government as it works to protect our citizens from radical Islamist terrorists. There are, say some, such complex political, foreign policy, and business issues that a congressional commission should be convened, some kind of committee extraordinary. Apple even asking the federal government to withdraw its request of Apple, even as Apple is defying right now a federal magistrate's order to comply with the FBI request. They have until Friday to respond. Apple is, it seems, trying to cast itself as the defender of privacy, as Tim Cook said, for millions of iPhone users. The problem is they're not Americans. And Silicon Valley is supporting Tim Cook in his defiance of the federal government, which is responsible for Americans. What Tim Cook and Apple are doing, in my opinion, amounts to nothing less than an act of civil disobedience. And it's an act that shows no regard at all for any sense of responsibility to the nation of which it is a corporate citizen. As for FBI Director James Comey, he's actually trying to persuade Cook rather than excoriate him. He wrote on the Lawfare blog that he seeks no precedence, no technological advantage for the FBI, only the data that Apple could quickly recover from the terrorist iPhone for the FBI, if only they would. Comey writing, quote, "We don't want to break anyone's encryption or set a master key loose on the land. Maybe the phone holds the clue to finding more terrorists, maybe it doesn't. But we can't look the survivors in the eye or ourselves in the mirror if we don't follow this lead." And you know, I can't imagine how Tim Cook absolves himself of the responsibility if that phone were to contain a name, a fact, a clue that would have prevented another terrorist attack if it occurs. Is it Cook's arrogance, his utter disregard, his indifference to the life and death of fellow citizens? Or perhaps he thinks of himself as some sort of supra-citizen of the techno world, which transcends a mere nation, even this one. Well, some of the victims in the San Bernardino attack and their families are planning to file a brief backing the feds over Apple. A brief. An attorney representing them telling Reuters, quote, "They were targeted by terrorists and they need to know why, how this could happen. Is it necessary that you and I, that we all in this country petition the court siding with our government to protect us from terrorists and Apple's intransigence that it says is based on loftier values than those of a mere citizen seeking what should be an instantaneous decision?" The federal government has been rebuffed by Apple to come to the aid of our country and our fellow citizens. How in the world have we fallen so far that this is a public matter, let alone a private discussion that took more than minutes for Apple to agree? Is it our elites, our one-percenters, as some call them, who've descended with their wealth and their privilege to a valley of hubris and silicon? Apple has until Friday to file its response in court. But Apple and its CEO have already lost the regard of millions of Americans who expect far more of those who lead this nation, whether in government or business. A man, a corporate citizen, who denies his country in a time of need is beyond contempt, and I firmly believe not easily forgiven.